This clock called me to it. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mayor Bauer,
Here.
Councilmember Bauer,
Here.
Ludwig, Eric Robinson,
Here.
Turco, here.
All right, we'll entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda. I'll make that motion by Councilmember Bauer. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Udvig. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Before we do the consent agenda, we're gonna pull item I out. So we'll entertain a motion to approve all items except item I. Do we have a motion?
Make that motion, Mayor.
Motion by Councilmember Robinson. Do we have a second? Second by Councilmember Krecklo. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And item I is
Mayor, so before you tonight, there are now 3 agreements for review and approval of the Minnetonka Game and Fish Club improvements. So basically on October 2nd, 2023, the city council approved their conditional use permit to do some grading work on the roadway and some stormwater improvement work as well. So the first agreement that was already included in the packet was a grading agreement. This serves functionally as sort of the permit for the work that they will do. There also was before included a stormwater maintenance agreement. These stormwater maintenance agreements are required as part of the MS4 permit that the city has. Basically, if there's any stormwater improvements that are strictly on private property, not maintained by the city, then they have to have this agreement in place that goes over it. And when drafting those 2 agreements, staff is working with the applicant in figuring out the details of their legal description. And so the third agreement now is in some ways a extension of time to figure out their legal description, but they can still proceed with the work for the grading that was approved under the conditional permit. So typically, I think that the person who represents the Minnetonka Game and Fish Club, in this case, he is a land surveyor himself. So when he picked up the survey of title from the county, he said, "Oh, I think that this might be incorrect." And so then it sort of opened up this whole spiral of other things, which is good. It's good to get that corrected, but doesn't necessarily seem like it needs to hold up the work that they want to do on their site. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Kevin?
I have no question, but if it's been reviewed by staff and the right thing to do, it's fine.
Careful.
I don't have any questions.
Wow. I don't have any questions. All right. With that, I will entertain a motion to approve item I. Motion. Motion by Councilmember Udvig. Do we have a second?
I'll second, Mayor.
Second by Councilmember Robinson. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Meeting open to the public.
Where then?
State your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, my name is Derek Lind, and I actually live in Ramsey, Minnesota. Thank you for having me here tonight. Yeah, of course, you get one packet with 3 cards inside of a rubber band. I'm here on behalf of a citizen advocate group called ACIT. We're operating at the county level. It's about 20 individuals. We've been in operation for about 18 months now. And we've been focusing primarily at the county level, meeting with the Anoka County Commissioners. And just recently, we decided to make the rounds of the cities. You're actually the 19th city I visited. So I think there's 21 cities in Anoka County. Got a couple more to go. We have had 30 different citizens give 80 different presentations directly to the Anoka County Commissioners. And like I said, we've been in operation for about 18 months now. So I'm not here tonight to talk you into anything. I just want to introduce you to us, the Citizen Advocate Group. If I could walk you through these cards real quick. First card is the blue card. And on that card, it says basically we have 3 problems with our elections. First problem is we live in a world where somebody's always going to try to cheat. We just have to live with that fact. The second problem is electronics can be hacked. That's another reality. And the third problem is our current system today is not transparent at all. You could tell me who won the election, but you don't know because you didn't see it with your own eyes, and neither did I. And that's a problem. So that's one of the things we want to change. I want to back up for a second because I forgot something that's very important. Basically, what our group wants to do is we want to go back to doing elections the way we did them 30 years ago. Take the electronics out, make it more transparent, more public involvement, that kind of stuff. I'll get to that in a second. If you could pull up the second card, there's a flag on it. These are the 6 items we've been asking the county to do specifically. First one is secure the election judge data. Believe it or not, they even farm that stuff out. Verified registered voters. Once upon a time, when you registered to vote, you did it at the county level. What's happening is that responsibility is shifting over to the state. It's coming through the DMV and that kind of stuff. It should be real simple. Names on a spreadsheet. County should be able to keep track of that. We don't know who's registered here. That's the problem. They basically hit the print button and they take whatever the state gives them. Third issue, validated paper ballots. With the mail-in ballots and stuff, we have to be aware of chain of custody and things like that. The fourth item is the one I want to slow down on here and have you focus on for a second. Paper poll books. Up until about 2018, we were using paper. So you would go to your local precinct to vote and they would look up your name and you would sign right next to your name. Do you guys remember doing that? They replaced that with these electronic poll pads. Our group believes that's where a lot of the dirty work is being done. We don't know what's going on inside those poll pads. They advertise them as a one-stop shop, everything from registration to reporting. And we just want to go back to paper. We thought the paper worked fine. There's no reason to get away from that. We can go more in depth on that later, but tonight I'm just kind of giving you a high level stuff, or the high level stuff. Hand counted paper ballots. Most of the cities weren't aware of this. In May, the state of Minnesota passed a law forcing you to use the machines. So even if St. Francis said, we don't want to use machines anymore, we want to hand count, you don't have a choice. State's forcing you. So what we want to do is we want to do what's called parallel count. Take the ballots, stick them in the machine, pull them out of the machine, count by hand, see if you get the same number. Parallel count. That's what we're asking the county to do. And the 6th item, I think we're already kind of doing small voting precincts. Anoka County has 128 precincts. In the midterms, we average about 1,200 voters. Depends on where you are. Some are bigger, some are smaller. We're not as large as everybody thinks. That's why we think it's possible to still do this stuff by hand. By the way, Europe still counts by hand. I don't know if you guys knew that. You could look at the 4th card real quick. I'm almost done here. The guy on the left in the hat, he's considered one of the top cybersecurity election experts in the country. His name is Mark Cook. We had him do a 90-minute Zoom call with 2 of our commissioners, Commissioner Reiner and Commissioner Look. He showed them how to hack into the machines. And he told them point blank, you cannot trust this current system. If you look to the right, he's got a thing called an election ecosystem. Elections are really quite simple when you think about it. You register a voter, you validate that that's a legitimate voter, you count the votes, and you report the votes. If you look at the grid there, all of that stuff is done at the local level. That's why we're here talking to the cities. You vote locally, you should do all of this stuff locally. What's happening is that responsibility is shifting over to the state. And ultimately, it's going to move to the federal level. There's actually legislation being sponsored right now to make this stuff standardized across the country. Amy Klobuchar. And we're nonpartisan, by the way. I forgot to mention that. We actually, we don't get into the politics part, but there is legislation sponsored right now by our own senator to make federal standards for elections. We think the solution is bring it back to the local level where we can watch it, we can get more eyeballs on it. So I know I probably caught you guys off guard. You weren't expecting me to come in and talk about this tonight, but do you have any questions?
I don't personally have any questions. I think anybody trying to fair election, there's nothing wrong with it. If, above board, I think we should get upset when people question them, so.
Right.
You guys have any questions? Crystal?
We don't think, I'm gonna clarify, we don't think there's any dishonest actors in Anoka County. We think the cheating is coming through the electronics. We think we got a good county with good people, but we just wanna get rid of the electronics. Sorry to interrupt there.
Crystal? Yeah,
No, I'm intrigued, but I have no questions at this time.
We're probably gonna be back with some more presentations, a little more in depth on like what's wrong with the pole pads or hand counting, but for now, we're just kind of going around and introducing yourself or introducing ourselves to the city, so.
I do have one question.
but
Sure.
If this gains any steam or gathers any steam, how does the city, if they elected to do something like that, how do you go against the grain? What is your strategy
That's
to
great, that's a great
try to
question.
roll the question back?
Great question, thank you for answering that. We've already had one city reach out to us and say, okay, we want to do something, what can we do? And we have another guy that answered that question better than us. He actually worked for Anoka County for 30 years, but he talks about the joint powers agreement. There's kind of a joint responsibility between the cities and the county as to who does what. So I think he would, if you want to, I can put you in touch with him. I can have him reach out to you and he can specify exactly what St. Francis can do if that's something you want to do.
Well, it's not something we want to do. I'm just curious how it would be done if there was a consensus. And again, the citizens, you need citizens on board to make a change if there is such a need for that, so.
You're saying, how would you do it?
No, I'm just saying, well, you need a consensus, you would actually need the citizens to come in and be a part of this as well, or not buy into what the theory is, but say, yeah, I agree, things should be, you hate to go old school to get it right, you know.
And believe it or not, the reason we think you gotta go old school is because we live in a world where people cheat, and we gotta get the stuff out in front of us, open and transparent. But to answer your question specifically, our strategy, we've been focusing on the county level because they have all the power. And we do have some yes votes there. We got one yes vote out of 7. Jeff Reiner, who's over in the Lino Lakes area. I'm not saying he agrees with everything,
Sure.
but he is the closest to a yes vote. Our other commissioners they're not on board yet. They're a little more cautious, but we're moving. We've been there a long time. Our strategy, we're not exactly sure what we're gonna do with our next step, but we're gonna hit a lot of these northern cities because we're pretty popular up there. They agree with us. And like I said, we've had one city reach out to us. I think if you guys voted to do something, that would be interesting. We're not at that point yet. Tonight, I'm just saying, there's a bunch of advocates. We actually meet every night on Monday night. I have to leave early because all you guys meet on Monday nights, it seems like. But there's 20 people back there meeting, talking about what our strategy is. So we call it Northern Strategy. There's a bunch of northern cities that I think agree with us, and we're gonna see if we can get them to do something. We're just not there yet.
Okay, thank you.
Good question, Mike. I hope I answered it.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Any other questions?
You know, I agree with a lot of these things here. I break out my driver's license every time I come to, vote, because I think that's the right thing to do. I think maybe your first start would be getting cities on board to do a hand count. And then as that grows, is there a deficiency there? And then go from there. Yes, we can say electronics are the fault, but until we get a buy-in on counting everything that went into that machine, to me, open it up. You still have to report it if it's electronic.
Right.
The state says so. But there's no reason why you can't hand count every vote that went in there and say,
I agree.
hey, how did the city of St. Francis precinct 2 put out 2,400 votes when we only had 22,000 cards that went in? You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
whatever, so I think that's the storyline first is to go way down, get buy-in on doing some hand counting.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
No, I think that's the right opinion. We were hand counting 30 years ago. We actually pulled out. We had 2 people come forward and speak directly to the county, and they said we were hand counting. I think it was 1992. They remember the Bill Clinton election, and they said they were done by midnight. You had a Republican and a Democrat. It was quick. It was accurate. It was great. So in Europe, by the way, and I'll get out of your way. I know you guys got a busy evening here. They went to the machines, some countries, and then they went back to hand counting. And one of the reasons for that is they wanted citizen participation. People need to be involved in their elections tonight, or not tonight, but today. I stick my ballot in a box and I go home and watch it on the news. And I'm gonna trust that everything's working on the other. If I get some election results where I look at it and I say, really? we, you know, that's just our opinion, so. I think I said enough. Any other questions?
No.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. I would just add too, I think, looking into the federal legislation, I don't know 100%, big fan of the Constitution myself, and I think that anything not in the Constitution is supposed to be left up to the states.
Right.
So I don't understand why the federal legislators continue to pass things that are, in my opinion, and maybe I'm wrong, unconstitutional, because
Yeah.
they're limited by the Constitution,
Yeah.
and they just ignore it. Where it's a ban on something or
Yeah.
whatever it is, it's just.
To be clear, the federal legislation has not passed.
Right.
It's sponsored, they're talking about it, they don't have the support, and even at the state level, some people are saying, there's two state, I gotta say one other thing while I'm here, sorry. The state passed two laws that were very impactful. Are you guys familiar with the CASPO record? When they first came up with these machines 20 years ago, everybody said, hey, these machines are great, it's technology, but we can't see what's going on inside of it. And so as a compromise, they created this thing called the CASPO record, where that CASPO record would show how the ballots came in. So if 100 votes come in for Trump and none come in for Biden, you know, at a certain time, the CASPO record would show that, and people could look at it and say, hey, what's going on there? So one of the first things we did is we asked for the CASPO records. And what Anoka County told us was, well, we didn't turn that on. We didn't have that function on. The state of Minnesota, they didn't exist. And then in May, the state of Minnesota passed a law saying, okay, they do exist, but we're not gonna let you see them. So you can't see the CASPO records and you have to use the machines. Now, I'm not a constitutional lawyer. But some people think that law they passed mandating the use of machines is not constitutional. That's not up to me. I don't know. I don't want to start rumors or anything like that. But if the city of St. Francis says, you know, we don't want to use machines because we don't trust them, we think we can handcuff them. Some people think that's up to you guys and not the state and not the Fed.
I'd be intrigued to hear more at a future date.
Yeah.
I would encourage you too, when you go to other cities too, to talk to the administrators.
Yes.
Get on the agenda as well, if you've got some sort of presentation, that's. Some of them might turn you down if you,
Yeah.
if you try to do it otherwise.
And by the way, this advocate group that we have about 20 people, regulars. We've had 30 speak to the state. I mentioned that there's 60 down in Dakota at one time. So it's about getting organized. But again, we don't think there's any dishonest actors, and no, it's the electronics we don't. So that being said, thank you for your time. I got to try to make it to Hilltop tonight.
Appreciate it, Rich.
Thank you.
Have a good night. See ya.
All right, moving on to old business. Item A, auto second reading. No. Here it is. Thank you. Go ahead.
Oh, that's a good question. Mayor and council, before you tonight is a proposal for the second reading of the auto zone rezoning from business park to general business. So in the meeting on September 18th, most of the entitlement approvals came into place for construction of a new auto zone at the vacant site just north of the bottle shop on Highway 47. Those included approval of a comprehensive plan amendment, site plan, and an easement vacation along that property. And so tonight is the second reading of the ordinance to rezone this property from business park to general business. If you have any questions, then.
Thank you. And I think I asked this as a resident. What constitutes the difference between business park and just business to level of how it's zoned?
Yeah, great question. So general business is more geared towards retail and commercial use. Business park is more office, light industrial use. So originally this site was zoned for business park because it does have relatively limited traffic accessibility. So with, we knew that MnDOT would want to close the access on Highway 47. So all of the traffic would be going in and off of Aztec. And basically the site can't necessarily support like a fast food restaurant that would have a ton of traffic coming on and off of it. But it can support a retail store and the traffic that's associated with the retail store quite comfortably. And so originally it was business park for limited access, but it could have just as easily been general business business as well.
Thank you.
Crystal?
No question.
Yeah.
I just wish we had more eateries, more commerce, growing as fast as the out of horse stores and the Dollar Generals. To be honest with you, but then, and I know EDA is trying, things are what they are, so it should be interesting, that's all I have.
I have nothing to add to that, so then with that, we will entertain a motion, to approve second reading ordinance 322, approving the rezoning lot 1, block 1, Crown second edition. From, business park to B2. We have a motion by Councilmember Craigwell. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Bauer, as the ordinance, we'll do a roll call.
Mayor Bauer. Councilmember Robinson.
Aye.
Crackwell.
Aye.
Edvin. Aye.
I will entertain a motion to, approve resolution 2023-65, authorizing summary publication of ordinance. Do we have that motion?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Motion by Councilmember Robinson, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Edvig, all in favor? Motion carries. Item B, special assessment for 234-62 University Ave.
Mayor and Council, before you tonight is the updated consideration for a special assessment for 23462 University Avenue, and also a code enforcement extension as well. So basically, we discussed this a little bit at the first meeting in November. And at another meeting in October, this property has pretty severe code violations on the property. It has an excessive amount of junk and debris, and a few other violations that we know very well at this point in time. Staff was able to set up a meeting with the property owner and a trusted friend of the property owner as well, to go through and create a plan for cleaning up the property. The plan that was proposed in your council packet is actually one that they presented. So they said that they felt comfortable removing 2 full trailer loads of junk and debris from their property every week into the future until the property is cleaned. And they estimated that the amount that would be removed is about 10,000 pounds. So each week. And so what we worked out with this property owner is that by every Sunday of every week, they will submit a photo of the 2 trailers where the items were on the property, and 2 trailers leaving the property of those items. And so then staff can sort of keep track of the fact that the property is being cleaned on a regular basis. And we also put together sort of an escalation path should photos stop being submitted, and what action staff would take in those situations. So if we were to not receive a response, staff would go and visit the property at the 2-week mark, and then at the 3-week mark, we would reinstate citations for the property and move forward with an abatement process.
They agreed to that?
They did agree to staff visiting the property and understood that sort of the next step would be the citations would continue. So that was made very clear in the meeting.
They don't have to sign anything, did they?
What was that?
We have anything in writing signed, did we?
So there is an agreement that is associated with access to the property and some amount of agreement to the cleanup plan that we will need in writing officially before I would say we can fully move forward with this plan. That is in large part because the property does not use the front door and they have large gates on either side that have no trespassing signs. And so they gave us verbal permission to access the back door, but we can't go past a no trespassing sign without written permission from the property owner. So I did speak with them immediately prior to this meeting, I got a call from them at about 5:45 saying, we might not be able to make it, we are hoping, but as they mentioned last week, neither of them have driver's licenses, so getting places can be kind of challenging. And told them that basically we definitely need this agreement before anything can move forward. So they said they would still try and make it this evening, and if not, then they would work to get the agreement signed, so.
So we don't have a date set up for them or anything?
So, we did say that photos would basically need to start being submitted this coming Sunday. They said, we don't think we need the week of Thanksgiving off. We think we can get started as soon as this coming Sunday. In the photo submission schedule, they did request for the weeks around Christmas and New Year's, which I think is perfectly fair and reasonable. I would have thought it to be perfectly fair and reasonable this week too, but they said that they thought they could do it this week. Okay. So, yep, they said that, the photo submission would start this week. So that's the code enforcement extension part, right? The plan that we worked out, getting it cleaned up, with the target date of substantial compliance by February 14th. But understanding that it's very hard to do things in the winter in Minnesota, given some of that time until the start of June, as well, knowing that it could be a challenge to continue with this pace consistently throughout the whole winter. So that's a plan. And then the second part is the assessment of how much, as city council, are you comfortable assessing to the property? Would you like to assess to the property? What makes sense to assess to the property? So at the meeting at the beginning of November, they did have a full assessment amount with, I think it was four or five citations, for 5 different violations, that total $9,000. That in part was because at that point in time, staff had not heard from the property owner. We were moving forward with the idea that we would be abating the property in the coming year. Now that we have had contact with the property owner, staff does feel comfortable reducing that assessment some. The city attorney's office has spent approximately $3,100 on this property so far. So I would propose that at a minimum, the assessment is for the amount that the city has spent directly in consulting fees thus far. I also have included some amount up to $3,900 as my recommendation for the assessment. That includes some of the staff time of city hall staff and sort of overall maintenance of monitoring the schedule, the citations we've sent out to date, and sort of the process moving forward as well. So happy to answer any questions. I expect there to be a lot. It is kind of a murky process.
There.
Yeah. I think this is, I mean, kudos to you for taking all the time to meet with him. I guess if the 39 is a number that you're comfortable with, I can get on board with that. I think that might be a little low. In my liking, I think our staff time has probably been a little more than what we're giving ourselves credit for, and so I'm not opposed to raising that up either. And so, I mean, so they're saying they're gonna haul 2 trailers. I mean, do we know what size trailers they're using? I mean, the 2 trailers could be, little tiny things or huge things. I don't know that and home for the children, but if, I mean, if they send us
See the
two little, well, right, but I'm just saying, I mean, if they have two little trailers, like, you know, that are going out, that's probably not gonna be acceptable, nor is that gonna clean it up quickly, so. Yes, it will depend on, part of it will depend too on the sizing, and I don't think they need, you know, huge trailers, but I also don't want them to think they can have these tiny little trailers and call that good, because that's not gonna, get us to where we need to be. And then, they have a clear understanding of the fact that if they don't submit pictures, what the process is, and if they don't pick up their phone, that this basically goes back to, we're gonna enforce it, so we're gonna hold that. Right.
Correct. Yep, so, the escalation path is clear. Yep, in terms of the exact size and scale of the cleanup and the rate, a couple of factors into that. They said that they have started the process of, cleaning up the property since they received the notice for the special assessment. And so the person that they're working with who has a trailer, it fits about 2 cars at a time, is what they have said. But it is hard to know exactly if this timeline will work, if it's reasonable, how that is, because the property owner did refuse access to the property for a site visit from staff. So we asked for that permission to be able to walk the property, get an understanding of how many cars are on the property. And they did refuse access of us to walk the property. So,
So yeah, you can go to the back door and go to the gate.
correct, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
well, right, you gotta get an agreement on that. Anyway, all right.
I think there's a lot of murkiness, and I'm a little concerned that it's gonna come back to bite us. But if you're comfortable with the agreement, I trust your judgment, and, I just wanna make sure that they need to understand this is like their final chance. If they don't comply with everything and they're not in communication, then it's.
This is remnant of that other property that almost got all the way cleaned up and then it just started mushrooming again. And I get the understanding of this property is just like, somehow it just came out of the blue, like, big problem right here. I have a problem with not allowing access to get an overview, right? I don't think staff are gonna go out there and count, 40 cars or whatever, but I just have a really bad feeling like, Sarah, this is gonna come back and bite us in the butt. These trailers aren't gonna pull themselves out, and for me to realistically sit here and say that you're gonna take 2 loads out a week, that's a lot of friendship. I mean, you're not gonna drag somebody every weekend. I mean, when are you doing this stuff? To drag 2 trailers, I don't know. Is it, I really don't like the picture idea thing. What are they doing with the vehicles? Are they going out one gate, going back around and turning on to the other side and just, look, hey, I took the vehicle out and I parked it right back on the other side of the building. I can do that for 3 years, and show you pictures. So, I don't know, can we legally have them show a receipt where they drop this off at a junkyard or some sort of poundage receipt or something? Is kind of my thought of going down that road, because I can take you a picture on this side of the house and drop my car back over on the other side, and I get absolutely nothing.
Tell them to do that, if we agree to it, but I'll need ordinance to it.
I don't know.
That's my guess.
We can certainly ask, mayor and members of the council, we can certainly ask them for that. I don't think that they've agreed to it as of yet. The other part of it is, and that was where some of the costs that we've already incurred is. If we need to go in, we would get an administrative warrant to go inspect the property, and that would be all. Everywhere in the exterior of the property, take photos and pictures. However, we have to go through a legal process on that, and we're doing that currently with other cities that are working with nuisance stuff, and I will tell you, it's taking a very, very long time to get that through the court. I mean, weeks.
So I don't like the permission, I don't like we have to have a written agreement just to go around to the back side of the door. If we never get that written agreement, I don't know that this process even started, with compliance, if they just start sending pictures, so on. I'm having a tough time with what we already have in staff time, based on how we kind of broke this down. It's a third of what the fines were. I don't know how to get, 50% rate. I'd hate to be like, oh, just add a couple dollars to this, that, and the other violation. So I don't know where the violation full price went on some of these things, so I'll probably have to just get on board with 3,900, but if this falls apart, it starts at violation number 5 or wherever we're at and goes straight to abatement, because we're not gonna start all over. I'm not gonna start all over with the process at $100 fine, and then, we push this out 3 or 4 more years.
Is that something we can do? Just pick up where you left off, type of thing?
Mayor, Council correct, as long as it's within 12 months, we can start where we've left off.
That's the road I'm on.
And, Mayor and Council, we can assess up to $9,000. That is, the 3,900 in large part is because I did expect them to be here this evening, and there's something that's very compelling about making a case of like, I didn't receive previous notices, I didn't, and, those sorts of things, so, you are fully within your right to assess up to the full 9,000, given additional information that we have at this point in time too, to say that it could be likely that we move forward with an abatement at some point within the next year.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can tell in the last meeting, I'm compassionate in looking for, did it touch their hand and you saw their eye contact, like, oh, I got a letter, right? I feel like that finally happened in the meeting before, we just had this last one. So pucker factor took it back, so, but I don't know that this is going to actually remedy the thing. I think we're gonna be back to the full amount here pretty quickly, so that's where I'm at, and I gave you an opportunity to kind of, hey, I didn't get notice, compassion. But just reading this, it's like, you're not giving permission, there's 100 ways to slice this one. Hide the fact that I did nothing with my property and I showed you a bunch of pictures. But I won't let you on, so, we got a nice little aerial thing, I think, right? That we can possibly use to check out the road.
There's limits to that.
So I'll leave that to legal and Todd, but that road's really, okay. There's parts of that road that really are unsafe that maybe this guy can go. All right.
Crystal.
So, I'm completely comfortable with the plan that you put together and also with reducing those fees. He did indicate in here that he's not running rental property down there. We don't have any verification of that. He's also indicated that there is this trailer that folks are living in or running a business out of there as well. He said that it's because he does the derbies and all those kind of things, which a neighbor also at one point did that, so I understand what that looks like. So I'm comfortable with reducing it to the 39, which compensates us for the attorney fees and for not really all of the staff work, but some of it. As far as them denying us access to the land, that is his God-given right, it's his land, he can deny us access to it. Like you pointed out, if we need to go in there and if we want to get in there to assess how it's coming along, there is a legal process for that. So I have no concern with them denying us access. My only thing would be is I would want a signed documentation from them that allows you to go past the gate, knock on that side door or whatever it is, and that a signed agreement with them that they're gonna adhere to. I think you had said they'd agreed to removing 10,000 pounds, which is roughly the 2 cups. You know, that's one day, a cookout and some beer, most buddies will do that. I don't know about consistently. I did have concerns about the winter time, because we all know that stuff, you know, soda gets froze pretty solid, so that might take a little bit. Do we have anything in place, and I didn't see it in the plan that you put forth, where they can reach out and say, you know what, we've hit sub-zero, the stuff is froze solid, you know, can we get, you know, we're not gonna be able to send pictures this week, we're trying, but we're just, due to the weather and just general Minnesota living is, might be a little hectic. I mean, if anybody's tried to get a ice house up off the lake, after you sit there for a few days, it gets a little tough, it gets a little tricky, so that was my only question, is do we have a contingency for that, and not giving them that out or that excuse? But that's what I would wanna see, the signed documents that they're gonna all those things.
The contingency is the February 14th to June 3rd. So, when I pressed him for timeframe, he said, oh, I think I could do it by mid-February. And it's like, okay, well, if you think you can do it by mid-February, you can absolutely do it then by beginning of June. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, that like, so that's also why in this plan, it is no response, not no submission. Because no submission, you know, if you tell us it's too cold, we can see, yeah, it's too cold, you know, but no response or ignoring the obligation, ignoring the agreement is different, than no submission.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Well, I feel bad for the community as well as any of the neighbors that might have been involved or brought this forward, whether they did or not, still. You know, there's some people that comply and some people that don't, and on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel about the success of this, proposal?
Yeah.
More than record.
Yes.
About 3. You don't have to say if you don't want to do this. I don't want to put you on the spot, that's all right.
It is, I would say, I felt, very encouraged leaving the meeting, after we had put together the plan. With the fact that they had an idea, were cooperative in the discussion. Some of the components that came about, though, of not giving access, not giving the contact information
calling
to the
shots,
owner
rather.
themselves. I think the largest concern that I have is point of contact of the property owner, Trenton Trovic, claims to not have a phone, email address, any regular way of communication, which is hard. It's hard to have any sort of compliance or agreement with someone when you don't have already contact information.
Well, it kind of called you a liar. I mean, when it was here, it was, yep, no, yep, no, we did this, no, didn't get it. And they pretty much called you a liar, which, you know, we all know that's not true. It's really a shame, opportunity's been given. When is the tax cutoff as far as if we decide to go for 39 or 45 or 9? When can we submit that yet this year and have it go against the rolls right away?
Thursday, I believe the due date is the 30th.
Yeah, we have to have that this week.
Okay.
Yeah,
But I don't think it-
I think that's a good thing. Again, really the fine is the only real teeth we have. they've already put barriers after, either verbal barriers or physical barriers in front of us to do our job. And again, we're not doing this because we like doing it. We're doing it because, it's light in the community and again, health and welfare and, granted, you can be a good, nice citizen here and, comply with, the rules and regulations put forward, but just to blatantly say, believe that I'm gonna do whatever I want, no matter what I want. And 10,000 pounds, like Crystal said, that's 2 cars, and you can do that in 2 hours. I think I'm not gonna judge anybody their ability or availability of resources and stuff, but if you set your mind to it, you can do a good job pretty quickly and show some earnest. And I feel, we gave an opportunity, again, this council's been very fair in the past, other individuals. So, as far as earnest, they made the meeting, that's the positive thing, I guess, but, other than that, and again, like Crystal said, snow's coming, we've had other people ask for extensions. Oh, the hardship said, well, you know what, it's been since June, we've been trying to take care of business here. So I'm not gonna be buying any of that stuff, but as far as the phone and whatnot, again, as far as people certain on life, if they're lacking some resources, that's one thing, and then they should be collecting all this other stuff, and there should be a way to get out of this. If presented with a problem, you should have a solution, or at least make an effort for a solution, so. I'm all for going for the half of the 9,000 to 4,500. We start where we left off in January, if nothing happens. And, we've given them plenty of opportunity. I feel bad that we've taken advantage of it, and the work that the staff has all put in and whatnot. So I'm up for 4,500, 50%, get it on the tax rolls if they don't do what they're supposed to do. As far as we still have from the center of the road to just inside the ditch, we're allowed to be there. That's property. That's not all their property. And that's easement that we can still go take a picture, or you can see the before. We have pictures of before. You can easily see pictures of after. So, I think we've given them plenty of opportunity, and if they don't comply right away, the sincerity is lost. So, that's all I have.
How do we obtain the pictures?
The property owners on either side have given us access and permission to their property.
Well, I agree with just about everything everybody said. I think, the property rights thing is the big ball on a lot of the other process, unfortunately. I think it lacks a show of good faith, but they do have it right. I think that, my biggest thing is a lot of things don't add up from the get-go. You don't receive any notices. And then the guy's not on trial here, so I don't need to make a big deal out of it, I guess, but you don't receive any notices, but you notice the one when you're getting a huge fine. You can come to the back door, but you can't have access to the property, which is weird. The contact stuff just blows them, especially in this day and age. I don't feel they're being completely honest with us, which really bothers me. But I have no way to prove that, and again, the person's not on trial. That's not what I'm here for, so. But for us to show good faith to somebody, you kind of like that, treat people like you want to be treated type thing too. So that's kind of a rule of thumb for me that bothers me about this situation. I wouldn't have an issue as long as we get the 3,900 minimum. I would have no issue with going to the 4,500 to do the half, and get it on the tax rolls now, I guess. It is what it is. I think, like I said, there's a lot of holes in the stories that we've heard. It just kind of drives me nuts, but that aside, I guess, I could see doing the 4,500, but as long as our costs are covered, as of now, I would say it's fair, and I agree with Rob saying pick it up where it left off. If they don't choose to do anything, I think it's an interesting idea that they go in one door and come in the other and Scooby Doo it. I think that's kind of interesting, and I didn't even think of that, but I can see somebody doing that. Not that this person would do that, but the interesting idea there. But yeah, that's where I'm at with it. I don't really have any more questions. I think one thing is I think if we do approve this, we would approve it contingent upon getting an agreement from them, because if they don't contact us in the next whatever for you to be able to go to the back door, plus you're probably gonna have to transport it with you every time you go. That's gonna cost us a lot of money too. So that's another idea for having that extra cost, because checking on these things is gonna cost us more money too. Just my thought.
So, Mayor and Council, so Darcy and I had a conversation today, and as you're discussing raising it to the, potential even the 4,500, is that what we set this at, we do have the ability to reduce before the first taxes are paid, is that correct?
We could have waived it next year if we wanted to.
So we could set it at 45, and if he is in full compliance and say he is done by February 14th and has not utilized staff time, we could abate the rest of that and drop it to the 31. So we do have a little leeway to drop it lower for next year. We cannot increase it past today.
I like that idea, honestly. I mean, if you do the 4,500, he has incentive to get it down. There's a little bit of the 1,400, it's not a jump change, that's a market change for most people, but not. So I would think that would give him more incentive too to get it done sooner. I mean, and even if he's not necessarily done, if there's enough progress there. Like if staff comes and says that they're making a good faith effort, there's reason for us to even look at it then that way. But that's my thought. I don't know how anybody else would do it.
I'll start the conversation over again, Mr. Mayor, just to get everybody on board. I feel like they put a third phone. So I agree with Kevin in going to 50%. That's kind of what I said originally, was kind of 50% work. I would say that we come down to whatever a third would be of that line grant. If it's compliant, we can go all the way down to 31, which to me would be an even bigger incentive. If we went to assess at whatever that is, 7,500, at a third. You put a third of your foot forward, I'm gonna put a third of my foot forward. Why would we back off a 0.5% based on you not really giving us any access at all? So that's what I would look at. And if we can do that, if it's done, it's settled, they're looking at, almost half of that being given back to them. So that's kind of where I'm thinking now is, whatever a third off of the 9,000 would be, that's our mark.
So you go down to 6, and then if they do well, you go down to 3.
And if it's done and cleaned up, you only assess them the 31, they may have their money back by compliance. And I agree, I'm a property rights advocate. But you put so much stuff on there and that stuff goes into the soil and someone's aquifer and you taint their water. That's where I gotta draw the line, right? Your property is affecting other people's aquifer, their water, their drinking
Quality
water,
of life.
the quality of life. So that's where I have a problem with, what you do on your property is your right. But when you start doing it wrong, then, that's where I have a problem. So that's where I would be at. A third of the 9,000, do it even, is it 6? I'm very bad at now. 6 grand with the ability to abate the other, basically 3. So that's my 2 pennies.
Your thoughts on that?
I mean, again, I would be willing to go as high as 45. Because I do think that some of the assessment or some of the fines that we levy, he had some rationale behind it. I'm not here to judge him, his lifestyle, his property. I understand that, when your yard looks like a junkyard, there are some environmental issues there. We did indicate that they've already started cleaning it up. We don't know just how much, but they did say they're doing that. I would be comfortable going with as high as 45. I do have a question. So this is all contingent on if they sign this. So we need to get this done today. So if we say 45 today, and then they never sign things, then we have to, next year, we'll have to do a new.
No, I would think
How does that
if
work?
we put a contingent upon them signing something, we'd almost have to have it by them signing it by the last day that, or submitted was the 30th, I believe, right, in November. So if they don't show up to sign it by the 30th, you almost have to assess the full amount, because it's contingent upon.
And that's what I wanted to make sure is that was.
That sound right or no?
That's a lot of moving parts there.
Okay,
So,
to me, that's how it would work in my head, so.
And I don't,
Go ahead.
I don't wanna wait till the last day.
I would. I wouldn't want you to either. But,
My understanding is the council's got the authority to set the special assessment amount here, which does need to be provided to the county. There is if everything goes well, everything gets cleaned up, the council has the ability to potentially reduce the amount through a tax abatement. However, if it does not move forward and the city is required to go back to enforcement and then through potential abatement, all of that cost would also come back to you for next year to be assessed onto the property again.
okay,
So the city would be paid for its costs, it's just a timing
when,
issue.
and that was my question. So what, right now we're looking at $9,000. If we reduce it to 45, if they don't do whatever, then we would have to come back after that 45 the following year.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. So, with that. With all of that, I would still stay with the 45. And again, if they're with the contingency that they're not, that they sign on the dotted line, and if they don't, then we start over, not over, but.
free up compliance issues.
Yeah, thank you.
So another mechanism here is that, and maybe I'll check with Dave real quick. I'm not sure if we can do that, to say, if they don't sign by the 30th, then tonight council says 45. If they don't sign by the 30th, then that's actually gonna be 9,000.
No, that's not what we're doing.
No.
So what we do is we have to do it next year, yeah. That was my thought,
Okay,
and I was wrong.
oh, okay,
We're going with, but basically, Dave, we can pick it up next year and basically go through this process next year if we have to.
Correct.
It's a little cleaner.
okay.
And then the only other question I had was, given his rationale behind, not running a business, not a rental property, if we took those fees assessed off, what is just the garbage assessed fees? What are just that? That would be my question. Is that above and beyond the 45 that we're sitting at, or?
So those would just be, the two 1800s, so that's 3,600. Is just for the junk and debris and parking on unapproved surface.
Don't math, quick, math for me.
36.
Yeah, so 36, so the $9,000 minus 36 is what?
9 grand minus 36 would be 5,400.
54. Okay, so it's $5,400 in fees just for the garbage.
It's 3,600 just in fees for the garbage.
Oh, okay, never mind then. I'm okay with 45. Sorry, I wasn't tracking.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think it's gonna be the, worth the paper's written on it, if they sign something, I don't think it's gonna be crap, it'll be toilet paper. The earnest, the actions mean way more than the signed piece of paper, so. I'm all for the 4,500, the meeting was last Monday, or no, you had Veterans Day, so it was Tuesday, or?
It was on Monday.
It was, okay, well, they've had 5 days to take action, the weather's been phenomenal. So, I don't think the paperwork means a damn thing, and then how are you gonna get a hold of them to come sign stuff? How are they gonna get the transportation, means to get here to sign something? I think that's just more TikTok, how I'm going by, so. I'm up for the 4,500 and, check on them and whatever their proposal was that we would have agreed to. But I go 45 and then, they should be making stuff happen right now.
There.
Yeah, and I'm okay with 45 too. I kind of agree. I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, but I'm not real hopeful. I kind of feel like I'll be surprised if we get to reduce it at all, but, and, you can say, I'm not renting, you can say I'm not having the RVS really, I'm not doing business, but because we can't get in there and verify, I'm not okay with just being like, oh, well, they said it, because they haven't been really forthcoming with us, so. And if they would say, yeah, come on, you can see that no one is living in that RV.
Well,
But
it's
they-
an RV though, it looks, this guy looks like somebody's living there, in an RV. That's what
Well,
they're doing,
even
in
the
an RV.
neighbors have said they've seen people coming in and out of it, you know, you have a sign up there for call this, you know, there's just too many things that don't make sense to me, so. 45 would be where I'm comfortable.
Can I say one other thing, Mary?
Yep.
We talked the last 15, 20 minutes about concessions for them, but nobody's talked about the neighbors. We've made no concessions for neighbors whatsoever, or taken into the consideration what they put up with since this all started. So, just want to pick it up there.
No, that's a good point too. Yeah, I think I'd be happy with 4,500, I think, it covers some future staff time too, that's gonna be needed. I think to check the compliance and whatnot, so. I'd be all right with all of that, and then I guess we'll hope for the best and see what happens.
Yeah, Russell, is this 45 with a like performance incentive that it could be abated down to the 31? Or is this 45 that's just 45?
To me, I would say it's 45, just 45.
Yeah,
I thought it was 45 with the performance incentive down to 31.
We will.
Well,
We could do that too, I mean, but that's, to me, I'm thinking of future staff time, that's gonna have to be used to apply. I think right now our number's at 31.
yeah, we just,
So then we wouldn't cover future staff time, that's where my idea of the 1,400 eventually is coming in, and maybe that's a little high, but. I do agree with you as far as some of these fees rack up pretty fast, and I do think they can become unreasonable at some point. But that's our fee schedule, and that's what it is, so we deal with those, on a case by case basis when they come to us, I guess, but. I think, 4,500 to me is reasonable for future staff time. Yes, sir.
Just remembers the council just, the council has the ability to reduce later on by itself, so you don't have to put that as a contingent into
Okay.
this one. It can be, if there's great progress, everything gets cleaned up, staff can bring this back. At that point, council can discuss and decide what they want to do.
Sounds good to me, doing that way. And if they perform, they perform, if they don't, they don't. I'm sure you'll be happy to let us know.
Yeah, the question was mostly just, what can I tell that, right?
Right.
As a, I think the idea of having some sort of incentive would be pretty appealing, so.
I think that basically we're not guaranteeing anything at this time, but I would definitely need to see what happens. Good point. There. We'll figure it out later. Yeah.
To follow up on Kevin's and the neighbors. I feel we're conceding way too much on a problem that we all agree probably isn't going to be fixed. If you leave the higher amount, the 6,000, it's gonna open up eyes. And that's a bigger incentive to tell the property owner, hey, you know what? This 6,000 or whatever it is gonna be, let it be the what we have it right now, 38 plus the 31 in staff time already. That's the assessment, 68, 6,900, whatever it is, right? That's $2,000 relief, but you have the potential of almost another 4,000 if you get this job done. Because we can do it down to 31. And like Sarah said, all these things are on their word, and we're all taking their word like it's the God's honest truth, and nothing has happened already. So I say we assess it at the 68 or as close to 9,000 as we can to get our staff time back, because we're gonna go forward with this. Because there's been no step forwards.
Well, I think too, to Dave's point about, I was jumbling things around there, I think, one way or another, we're going to get our money back. Staff and paid, we'll have to assess them again, it might be later. But we would eventually recoup that. I get what you're saying, I don't disagree that it's a larger incentive, obviously, to save more money. But I think at this time too, it was recouping our costs and covering some future costs. To me, it's, you're giving the resident the integrity to either succeed or fail in it, right? And what they choose to do with that is up to them, and hopefully we don't see them back. If we do see them back, obviously it's probably not gonna be great for anybody. But I think too, you're giving them the opportunity to do it, and as a government, you know, not that, government being a necessary evil, right? So to speak, in my opinion. I think that, we're here to serve the people too, which that comes to neighbors as well. You know, and that's one thing to me, it's my biggest concern at this point with the aquifers and things like that, especially in the well area. You have to worry about those things, and the health and welfare of the people around them. And they're not getting contingencies with neighbors that have been putting up with this. But I do think we do have to give them an opportunity to fail on their own, and whether or not there's a financial incentive there for them or not, I think it's. If they're gonna do it, they're gonna do it. If they're not, they're not, regardless of what number you put on it. And if we have to go through this again next year, we have to go through this again next year. So I think the 45, I think, and if they get it done by February 14th, which again, not guaranteed, which is not gonna be part of the motion, I don't think we'll see what happens, I guess. But I think we start at the 45 is fine for me. We're not overcharging them, so to speak. We're recouping what we've lost. It's not costing the taxpayers any money, and then hopefully we don't hear back next year. That's kind of what I'm at with those questions. I don't disagree with you, but money is obviously the incentive that got them the door. Great. But whether or not they want to try to save money or not, it's gonna be up to them regardless. And either we hit them this year, or they get hit next year with more staff time. Not that we want to put our staff through that, but, and legal processes and all that fun stuff, which is gonna cost even a lot more. That's where I'm at. So if anybody wants to make a motion right now, I would love to hear one. So I guess I would entertain a motion, amending the special assessment, is that? We wanna amend it and then still, or we don't amend it? I'm kind of confused on that one.
So we have a resolution in the packet, resolution, 2366. So I would say, approving that resolution with the amendment for the amount. That sound right?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we will entertain a motion to approve resolution 2023-66, amending the special assessment 23462 University Ave in the amount of $4,500 at this time.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilmember Kreckler, do we have a second?
I'll second, Mayor.
Second by Councilmember Robinson.
Joey, wait, sorry, Mr. Moon. Sorry.
There.
I don't know if you have to say the 10%, because there's a 10%.
$4,500 with the 10% interest as part of the motion.
Okay. So can we amend the motion?
Oh, the motion of what
I'll
is
second the amendment.
All right. We good? All right, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Opposed? Oh, opposed. You're opposed, okay. I heard you say aye. I'm sorry.
No, sorry,
No,
I'm opposed. I think it should be more.
that's good. Thank you,
I
everybody.
didn't get to say ha.
Told us so. All right. Item number C, fee schedule, second.
Mayor and Council, before you tonight is the second reading of the fee schedule ordinance. This is an annual housekeeping item where we reset our fees and evaluate our fees going into the next year. We discussed some of the newer fees last meeting, and with that, nothing has changed between that meeting and this meeting. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Right.
I don't have anything there, I don't know, it all makes sense to me.
There,
I have any questions.
Crystal?
I don't have a question.
Yeah,
No questions, Mayor.
all right. With that, we'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance 324, second series, amending section 291 of the city code regarding the fee schedule. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Motion by Councilmember Edvig. Do we have a second?
One second.
Second by Councilmember Bauer, and then an ordinance, and we'll do a roll.
Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Bauer,
Aye.
Crackwell, Robinson,
Aye.
Mayor Mewbauer.
Aye, motion carries. And now we will entertain a motion to authorize summary publication resolution 2023-67.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Councilmember Bauer, there's a question mark.
Yes, there is.
All right, entertain discussion.
Once we get a second.
All right, we have a second.
I'll second here.
Second by Councilmember Robinson, and discussion.
Will we ever get to the point, because no one reads the newspaper or whatever, like, how can we legally put summary publication out somewhere else? On the internet, on the World Wide Web, whatever that looks like, or, God, this guy came up and talked about electronics and all this goody stuff, I just got all warm and fuzzy. I'm done with the summary publications in a newspaper that no one reads. So when can we get to electronic?
I think once everybody has their own link.
That's just my 2 minutes, so.
All right,
That-
Councilmember Bauer, that is a hotly debated thing at the legislature, more so in previous years than in this last year. I would say that the, local newspaper groups will defend their territory quite a bit and very vociferously at the legislature, but every year there is a proposal to streamline, to reduce city costs. And we'll see what the legislature does moving forward, but your opinion is shared by a number of people.
Thank you. I just had it right there.
I don't know where you're against jobs. Scared. All right. So we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're having fun. I thought, I'm having fun, I don't know about the rest of you. New business, item A, City Hall Fire Station audio contract.
Mayor and council, before you tonight is the decision for our new City Hall Fire Station to move forward with an audio contract. These are for full design build contracts that includes all of the placement, all of the technology, all of the material, and all of the labor to fit our new building with the audio, including our council chambers, our training rooms, our large conference rooms, and all of the components within. Quotes, modern control and Interium. Interium is our low bid, and they are, Jenny and I were able to visit their facility and kind of touch and see the electronics and how they worked, and are in favor of what they're offering. With that, before you would be a decision to approve the quote from Interium. I'm happy to answer any questions.
No question.
Were you able to see it in real action, and did you happen to, on your own time, whatever, to view a council meeting that somebody was using, or get to see it in that regard as well?
Mayor and council, we did, we actually, we kept it pretty tame with what we could have gone with. They have it where you can have your rooms talk to each other. We were talking from a conference room to conference room. The technology that exists right now is amazing. We went, I would say, pretty mid-level. We removed our small conference room, and we can do a cheaper fit than everything that they're trying to put in there. So we were able to actually work it, how it worked, and it's very user-friendly and it's nice, so. And that is who Newport and a couple of the other cities that we have worked with have been using, so.
You have to talk to the direct users and the people who actually, does it take a separate individual to sit at a board and do any conducting per se?
Mayor and council, no, you can literally walk in a room and press some buttons and everything talks to each other, loads, presentations, we won't have the cords. It's pretty.
We don't get it.
Were these venues going through YouTube out, or going to a cable outlet out, or how are they broadcasting their?
So Mayor and council, we would be able to still use our YouTube channels. It is just more direct. We don't have the funky equipment trying to make those connections.
Okay, And if the advent of any, well, not, I doubt cable will come by, but whether avenues, is it adaptable for the future, and do they offer any upgrades? I shouldn't say upgrades, but, as things get changed, as they will, I suppose that's, you won't know what's coming in front, what's ahead, down the road, but it seems compatible and, it'll be adaptable to new things.
Yep, so Mayor and Council, they are very adapted to, the Microsoft products that we use, Zoom. And, you know, involved in the training of staff, and then as new equipment comes out, being that they're a wholesaler installer of that equipment, they would be able to provide us any upgrades. There is a lot of technology out there that it's probably changed from even when we were there till today.
Sure.
So this, you know, they've held on to this quote for us all year while we've been looking for the second price. And it's pretty adaptable. It was interesting. You can, everything from plug in your computer to have it streamed into the room from your office. From what you guys can see at the dais, we'll all be connected in there. So.
Okay, and was there a second player involved at all, or did this product stand out amongst the things that you looked at for quality, price, and adaptability, et cetera?
So Mayor Council, the modern control was the second one. It's hard to do exact apples for apples because they do their brand kind of lines. But they are very similar, and then they all included the design, the equipment, and the training when it comes to putting it in, and that was the difference in the prices.
Okay, and then the little recording get any easier, or archiving and stuff, will it be any easier with some new equipment?
Mayor Council, yes. So we'll have actually more options and access to doing what we need to do in the back end, with the new technology.
Okay. Great, thank you for the work on it.
Sarah?
Kevin asked a lot of questions I had, so, I think it looks good. Nice stuff. We have our own equipment and have it set up the way we need it. I think it's good.
My question is the serviceability, the insurance, you know, how long is it warranted throughout the building? That type of stuff? Are they providing a service, kind of like our computer people, they just keep us up to date on a computer service, or is this like, you know what I mean? The minute it gets in the building, it's outdated. And so what's like the upkeep, what's that look like?
Yep, so Mayor Council, so they are coming into training, so they will be our technical support as we learn the system up front. You know, equipment itself has warranties. We'll get a defined contract from them once we get past this quote. And I'll be back with an actual contract. But I believe it, with the new construction, was for the first year, but I would have to verify that.
So this stuff is not like this network stuff that constantly needs to be upgraded, computers gotta be redone for the building itself.
No.
Okay. That was it, that's what I was trying to wrap my head around.
Yep.
Everything is run off of our own personal computers that are kept up with Metro INET. So we run off of Zoom and Teams and Microsoft products that are run off of our computer.
Okay. Thank you.
I was just wondering why we didn't have a pretty screen headset for Rob. I don't have any questions. I just think that, obviously, we take the lowest responsible bid based on our charter, so I would entertain a motion, to improve the interior. We have a motion for that.
Mr. Mayor.
Motion by Councilmember Udvig, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Bauer, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Item B, Highway 47 elected officials.
Mayor and Council, before you tonight is a request to set a date so we can send invitations out to invite elected officials to discuss, the Highway 47 project. The session begins February 12th, I believe, so I would like to get them in after the holidays, before the session starts, and propose 3 dates before you.
Do we have any preferences?
I like the Wednesday, Thursday. I struggle for Mondays nowadays for some apparent reason. Just can't get out of work, so when Thursdays, got my night, but
The 11th
I
or
will,
the 18th?
the 11th is fine, sooner the better, for me, so. And is this going to, no, are we doing the Anoka County legislature?
We're sending it to the county, the state.
Okay.
So Mayor and Council, we would invite our 2 county commissioners that are in place until February.
Okay,
And then our 2 legislative, and then WSB, who is our rep, Anoka County Highway, and MnDOT staff. So we'd send out an invitation to all, and we will see who shows up.
All right. Issue the 11th there.
No, I'm sure.
The 11th works, 5 PM is better than 4:30.
Kevin?
That's December 11th.
No, January.
Yeah, that'd be fine. That's a Thursday.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Like we will, set that.
5 PM at the Police and Public Works. All right, thank you.
We're in there for. Second meeting open to the public. All right. Reports, public works, report.
Mayor Council, report today is Public Works third quarter report. I have to report that everything's quiet on the Public Works facilities front, outside of normal maintenance. That's always a good thing. Currently, we have City Well 3 pole being rehabilitated. I will be giving you the results in the year-end report after that's pulled, although everything's looking pretty good right now. I would like to, the staff would like to thank our citizens here in the city. When the DNR issued a severe drought warning this summer, there was a drop in water usage, and we want to thank the citizens for paying attention to that. It's much appreciated. However, we are still in a moderate drought. I know we've gotten rain. Everybody usually feels we get an inch of rain, you come out of the drought, but it does take, it takes more time than that. There's other signs that they look for. Every 3 years, the Department of Health requires us to pull lead and copper samples from the city, 20 total. Have to report that the tests all came out good and we're under the levels that require action. So that's a good thing. I want to give council a Bethel wastewater update. We are still currently training Bethel's new operator. His exam is in December of this year, and he's working with Minnesota Rural Water Prep for the test. Public Works, we actually officially notified the city of Bethel that on February 1st, 2024, we will no longer provide contracted wastewater services. We did it now because we figured one time for Bethel, if the operator doesn't pass its test, there's plenty of time for Bethel to find alternative service needs. So one of the things that the wastewater operators did this third quarter, I'm quite proud of them, was replacing the aeration membranes
in our wastewater treatment facility. They're extremely expensive, and in order for us to have that done, it would have been about $36,000. Well, the guys figured out how to get it done. So that's a direct penny saves, penny earned. So I figured they saved us about $36,400 this summer. So that was really, really good. It takes, I don't know, maybe a month and a half, but as far as processing biosolids, there was roughly 900,000 gallons, and we've received about 300 ton of biosolids out of that. It's the big pile, and you see it in your photos. I'm roughly going through our report in the photos. That'll be land applied this next spring. So every year it becomes more now as the plant's fully online and we have to clean all 4 tanks. You'll see a substantial increase in those biosolids. I think last year was the first year that I came for council and asked for more money just because our 4th tank now is dirty. So it's going really, really well. And it'll all be cleaned up in the spring once we haul it out before the farm puts grass on field. So I wanted to say thank you to Phil, our building official. He caught something this summer, or in the 3rd quarter that was not everybody would have caught. It was a cross connection situation where we could have had our potable water supply contaminated. Phil caught it, brought it to our attention immediately, and we were able to remedy the situation. So I kind of wanted to give a shout out to Phil for that. I believe he was looking at siding at the time, and he caught it for us. And we really appreciate when he's out amongst the public watching for things like that. So that's also in your photos. You can kind of see how we altered it once he was able to catch it for us. It took us 2.5 years, but officially our new crane truck's online. We've got it, public works staff outfitted it when we got it back. It's working as it should, much better than the other time. A lot of time was taken to outfit this one a touch differently to make it a little more user friendly. And with the newer technologies from an 07 to a 2023, there's a huge difference in technology. So needless to say, the operators are quite excited about the new crane truck. And this one is set up to last several years. 15 to 20 is our expectation from that particular vehicle. I want to congratulate our newest member of Team Wyatt. Wyatt, his conditions were when he started with us, within a year, we wanted him to have his Class B CDL and his wastewater D license. As of a few weeks ago, he was able to get his CDL, so he did succeed in fulfilling his obligation to the city of St. Francis. We're quite proud of him. He's done a really good job. He's been a huge asset to our team, and I'm really glad that he's part of our team. So. Last year, our public works open house was suggested in a staff meeting by John Mackey, and it actually turned into a very successful event. We had approximately 90 kids and 150 adults that were able to spend the evening with us over there. The Mack truck officially is now called Snow Force 1. Not sure how we're going to work that out with some lettering yet, but there's some ideas. We're getting there. The thought was to continue this as an annual event. And I want to thank Sandy and Lori from the police department and Lisa and Natalie from City Hall for helping us out. We weren't sure how it was going to go, and we're really, really glad we were there to give us a hand on. Just to kind of keep everybody thinking about it, the first 150 ton of salt's been received for the start of the snowplow season. I want to thank the Streets and Parks guys for servicing and getting the plow equipment ready. I can officially say we're ready to go. We were very close for the first snowfall, running a little bit late, but there's always room for improvement. So we'll get there again. We had a lot of practice last year with 7 months 800, and we wanted to forget, but unfortunately we didn't. So we're ready to do it again. There were 2 recycling events in the 3rd quarter. Participation was about 115 cars each. The scrap metal was down a little bit, but the electronics were up. The difference was about a ton each, so that worked out pretty well as far as tonnage. And cardboard was probably the most popular item. There was about 2 tons of cardboard received from each one of those events. So quick project update, Fox Street overlay is complete. It's done. City Hall, the Cree Street front of City Hall finally, you don't have to shift to a 4-wheel drive, come in and out of the parking lot, so that's good. The 245th Avenue culvert replacement that we worked with Stanford on is finished, turned out very well. Went off without a hitch. Really glad it all turned out. The Delwood Trail Riverbank restoration is complete except for the trail. The trail will go in next spring when it warms up. Got a little bit cool. I know we had a shot of that warm weather, but it wasn't quite enough to finish the trail up. The Rum River Swale next to the high school there, they did finish that. They finished it last week. That's something else that it was a project in the works this year. We originally were gonna move to spring, but they finished it up, so it's kind of nice. It's something else off the list. And the last thing that we've been working with ACD on is the 225th Rain Gardens. The design is out now. It's an ongoing discussion. There's a lot of moving parts to the rain gardens, but we will be putting them in on 225th, and there is a design out now, but that won't happen until next year. So with that, I can happily answer any questions that the council has. Crystal?
No question. Thank you for everything.
No question, just actually getting shout out to you guys. I spent some time with them on the recycle day this past Saturday, and they genuine enthusiasm parish, and Jeremy and those guys, they're there because they want to be, and not whether they get, traded for time or overtime or whatever, but it's a good group of people, so the trickle down from the top, so they're doing a good job. Thank you.
My question, I guess, is for the Bethel wastewater. Is it a detriment that we immediately put notice that we don't want to do that service? Is it costing us money? Is it something that we can allow the city of Bethel to say, hey, our guy passed, we're gonna give you a 30-day notice that you can stop doing this? Or I'm just love your neighbor. I just think that sends out a bad precedent that we say, hey, by this date, we're gonna cancel our services with you, and if your guy fails, you gotta go, that'll give you some time to find relief somewhere else. Are we saying that, or are we? Right.
Right, so that's actually a really good question. So starting this early, we're actually helping them as well to give them alternative means to run that plant.
Okay.
That's why we're so far ahead of it. There's also, when you're dealing with FPCA, everything you have to be a step ahead. So what happens is we actually have to submit that we're actually going to be releasing us from their wastewater plant 30 days ahead of time. So there's a few moving pieces here, Rob. But I can say that we are being a good neighbor along the way. Met with them a couple times. We'll meet with them a couple more to help them out as we need to transition them smoothly. Good question. Thank you.
We can renew that. Is there time to renew it if their guy fails?
So
they're not out looking somewhere totally in a different direction.
Correct.
And we're leaving them behind dry.
No, we won't be leaving them high and dry.
And then the second thing is, great report. I'm not a fan of the wave page. For me, it's very hard to read. I don't know if my vision's going or not. I don't know if anyone else has an issue with the wave page. It's just hard for me to read. So in the report. The whole shadow thing, and maybe it's just this paperweight, but great report.
Thank you.
Sarah?
No, I don't have any questions for you. Great report. Thank your staff for doing a great job.
Thank you. Good report. Thank everybody again on Public Works. Been meaning to get down to recycling. I have some things I gotta get rid of, but I haven't been able to. One thing I was curious about, and it's kind of along the same line with Rob, but we wouldn't be opposed to renewing the contract if we had to, or if their guy failed, or kind of where are we at with that? Obviously, we want them to pass, and hopefully everybody's successful. But if that didn't happen,
So initially, the instruction by the council was giving to help them out, get to the point where they had an operator and then move along. We are open to whatever council would like. So, this is, again, I'm starting way ahead of time. This is what, almost 4 months in advance, giving them plenty of time. We're kind of waiting right now to see what happens with their operator. If their operator passes, it's gonna be a very, very easy transition. And we have Minnesota Rural Water involved, actually studying with it, prepping for the test, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, I got nothing else for you. Thank you very much, and thank all the guys down there for doing everything. We'll move on to community development.
Mayor and Council, I am here to report on Q3 of community development, so that is July through September of this past year. The first section of the report is all economic development related, primarily the first two sections on our two main commercial corridors. So some highlights from the Bridge Street corridor, just a couple that I'll point out here from the report. One, pretty significant change to Bridge Street that happened. Well, the biggest one was the groundbreaking ceremony for the new City Hall fire station. So that one was huge in Q3. Very much the City Hall fire station is the first project built to the Bridge Street design guidelines. So hopefully it will serve as a catalyst for development on that corridor. The second large visual change was the removal of the outdoor storage on the corner of Bridge Street and Butterfield, and the start of the construction of the new parking area there. I'm sure you all have driven past, but it's looking pretty nice down there, so I'm excited to see how it'll turn out, the landscaping as well. Another thing with Bridge Street, the EDA did enter into a memorandum of understanding with a developer for the 3731 property, or that's kind of the Ramaker property is how some people know it as, to explore the potential for a apartment building on that site. So in those 180 days, basically, it's just that developer has exclusive negotiation with the city. And I have met with them a handful of times to go through some performance or financial analysis for future potential apartment building. There is a relatively significant gap that now he's trying to figure out how would we go about financing and funding that gap between rents and construction costs and those sorts of things. But I feel confident in his report at the end of this MOU that we will know sort of what it would take to get an apartment building on that site, should that be something that the city and the EDA are interested in. The other main commercial corridor being Highway 47, the largest sort of change update on that corridor in the third quarter was the approval of the new auto zone. So that building got its entitlements approved in the third quarter and actually just finished up the review of their building permit too. So they are ready to get started once Minnesota winter allows that to happen here in the spring. Another economic development strategy that we implemented this year was with the farmers market over the summer. So this was our inaugural year of the farmers market. I would like to think of it as a success. We had quite a few community members come out and really express appreciation for it being something within the city. And it definitely grew as the season went on too. So it started with just kind of 4 or 5 vendors on one side, and then grew to pretty consistently having the 2 sides of that section of the parking lot full of vendors, which was fun to see as it went. And something I feel very happy with is the goal for the farmers market was supporting local entrepreneurship, sort of within the idea of it being an economic development strategy. And 6 of the 19 registered vendors, this was their first time using their goods and selling them to the public market kind of thing. So very much getting some exposure for local entrepreneurship and people finding different revenue streams for their household as well. Staff has continued to partner with the City Chamber of Commerce, in attending their meetings and assisting with, events through the third quarter. I also wanted to highlight that staff also attended an event with the Minnesota Real Estate Journal in the third quarter that was focused exclusively on the north and west development updates. So in that event, different city officials spoke, different developers spoke, different people from different development fields. And pretty much the largest takeaway of the whole time was access to financing is the hardest thing in development right now. One of the questions that the moderator asked was like, how are you incorporating creative design into your projects? And one of the developers said, all of the creativity is in financing. It is all, how are we assembling different financing from different places and putting a project together? There also was expression that the housing market in Anoka County and the north and west area of the metro is still one of the strongest markets in that area. And basically housing demand still being very high with household size going down. So more households being necessary because fewer people are living in them. And then with that, also more people being overhoused because of lack of housing choice. So that's sort of your empty nester couple staying in a very large house just because they don't have the ability to move into another home due to lack of housing choice. So they kind of feel stuck in where they are, which creates high housing demand still going on. I now will go into a couple of highlights from the land use development section. So the main one I wanted to highlight here was in Q3, the River's Edge development got a continuation for their approval of the 7th edition for its preliminary plat. And in that continuation of that approval of that preliminary plat, the developer highlighted that is the area that's within the wild and scenic Rum River overlay district of the DNR. So the minimum lot size is significantly higher than the rest of the River's Edge development. And that he is just not seeing demand for that in the market, as that being the primary reason for needing to extend that approval, which I think is kind of worth highlighting again. When looking at different projects, the market demand for housing is for smaller, lower maintenance lots right now in large part. So, or the flip of the other large or smaller residential development, but development that was approved in Q3 was the Serenity at Sealy Brook plat. So those acreage lots of 4 lots off of Bridgestone, so just off of Sealy Brook. By way of commercial development, the new Dollar General building started construction in the third quarter. They are just about to wrap up construction of that building, so I expect it will likely open here pretty soon. So with the hope that so many of you probably remember the entitlement process for that one was kind of long. It took a while to work out the agreements with the property owner. And so once Dollar General is fully up and running, hopefully we will have the process in place with those agreements and that development with that property owner too, for the rest of that corner to be able to develop as well. For the building department, we did see that our residential new construction permits are down year over year still. So they have been just declining since 2020. And those are expected to be due to high interest rates, high construction costs. On the next page, you'll see that our permits are up, which in some ways is an indication of what we're seeing in the market of people aren't moving, buying a new house because interest rates are so high. they're keeping their lower interest rate, and investing in the house that they have. So pulling permits to do, some amount of renovation on their existing property. We are seeing that many of those permits are some of our, more over-the-counter permits, or permit revenue is, still lower than it was in years before. Because they are permits like re-roofs, water heaters, the ones that have flat fees. In code enforcement within community development, we have 44 properties that are active within code enforcement. The most popular code enforcement violation this year has been work without a permit. So that's going around seeing someone's renovating their deck, or putting on new siding, or doing a re-roof without a permit. So a code enforcement going out to that property, and those are typically remedied extremely quickly. The person just comes in and then full permit. There have been 2 large code enforcement cases that have been going on throughout Q3. One being the outdoor storage in Junction 3 off of Partridge Street, the other being this property we discussed is on University Avenue. The Partridge Street property, she has been complying with the plan thus far. So we have our next visit or checkpoint, that's what we've been calling them, at the end of November, which will be a pretty significant one. Rental and vacant program, been running similarly to previous reports this year, that it has taken a little bit longer to get some of those rentals fully their license this year, because we have been a little more rigorous in inspections on our rental properties. So some of those are taking a little longer to get the official license out. And the city does have 3 reported vacant buildings, the most notable of them being the Rome River Inn. And the emergency securing for the Rome River Inn took place earlier in 2023, so it has basically just been vacant through Q3. I would say the largest development from a staff perspective that happened in Q3 was our transition to our new software system, BSNA, was in September. So the second week of September, City Hall was closed to the public for staff training. The third week of September, everyone was realizing like, oh my gosh, everything about my job has changed. Everything I do every day is now in different software. And so that is also in part why Q3's report is in November, because it took me a little while to figure out how to run new reports for the permits and pull the numbers and how does this work in a new system. So in general, staff have responded extremely well to the system. I am grateful to them for taking on learning a new software. It can be intimidating and frightening at times to realize how much of your job has changed. But I think the transition is going quite well. And I have a few specific highlights on how different staff have responded to it here. And they've done a really great job. So, and with that also, one of them is to thank City Council for investing in the software system that hopefully will make our lives a lot easier in years to come. And we can see that now too. You can just click on a property and you can see everything that's active with that property, where before it was all in different file systems. Oh, what's going on here? Of now we can see, oh, there's a permit, there's a code enforcement case that's related to that, of like, here's sort of some of the history with this permit. It's also a rental, like you can kind of see it all on one place, where before all of that was just in different spreadsheets and different file folders. And so it was a lot of just general communication around the office on different properties, and see it when you look at it, which is really, really nice. And with that, I'm happy to any questions?
All right, Rob?
Great report, I think the biggest, substantial thing on 47 was actually the farmer's market, that was really a great addition to Highway 47. I went a couple of times and just kind of watched it grow, and it was really neat. But other than that, great report. Tell your staff to keep it up, let's put some shovels in the ground.
There.
No, great report. I agree with the farmer's market. I think that was very well received in our community. People are already talking about that here. Looking forward to it. So, that was huge. I enjoyed that. A lot. You've had a lot going on. So, you jumped in and done an excellent job, and we're very appreciative of your work. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, everything that they said, you know, the farmer's market is amazing, and, you know, not only it's, as you pointed out, there's 6 of them locally from St. Francis. But those folks, the farmer's market grew, and their online presence of those vendors grew as well, because I know I was at the farmer's market and found something I liked, and then found them on Facebook and referred them out, so that was just huge, and I can't wait to see that goes back to. Or where it gets to, great report.
No, very good report as well. Again, the farmer's market, I'm really proud of the work you put in there. And then mentor, teaming up too with the chamber in the last year or so too, it's really, there's a new life in there on both sides, so it's good to see the city involved, because everybody wins when, you know, when one rides, they all ride, so that's awesome. Question for you, if any properties in town fall into a sheriff's sale, is there a plus or a minus to something like that? Whether it be commercial and or residential?
So that's a good question. I would say there's a couple of different ways of looking at that. One being that the property is moving forward, right? So, oftentimes if something would get on the sheriff's sale list, it could be a vacant property or that sort of thing. And so, once it does reach that list, then seeing that, it would be moving further through the foreclosure process. It is public information. The Rum River Inn is up for a sheriff's sale on December 5th. So it is moving through the process of foreclosure. And for commercial property, they do have additional time over and above what a residential property sometimes would in terms of how swiftly different things have closed after that takes place. So basically no official sale would be finalized until the beginning of June on that property.
The city doesn't lose revenue in regard or any money to owed to a sheriff's sale, do they? They don't have to take a discount on anything, do they?
I do not believe so, that we have anything on that, but Thursday or Kate might know better than I do in terms of the city's role on that.
No, as in we don't take any discounts or we don't have to take any. Oh, okay. And could it be beneficial if somebody buys it at a reasonable amount that they're interested enough to come to the auction, you buy it, there could be show some progress sooner than we've seen in the past. Somebody buys at a lower number again, it's been heavy depreciation, but they didn't have the resources to put back into the property and I think it come out. So.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, no, very good report. Appreciate your work and the effort you put in your open out of the box thinking for the past year. So good job.
Thank you, very good report. Bluffs of Rum River, do we have any progress or new progress on that? No, I heard somebody was interested in that, but.
Yeah, so that was something I didn't highlight in here, that the property for the Bluffs of Rum River did go up for sale during Q3. So the investor for that project basically wasn't able to assemble the financing necessary to move the project forward. So they walked away from the project and from the property and contingent purchase agreement. So it now is for sale on the private or on the market. And I did talk to the real estate agent this past week, and he said that they have a couple of good leads and expects one of them to come forward probably in January, February after the holidays. So that would be great. Yeah. Have them move forward.
All right, and then I would just say, all the thank yous in here, definitely pass them on. Good job as well as all of our staff, so we appreciate all you guys. Yeah, we'll remember from. Council member reports, Kevin.
My agenda for second day this past Saturday, it was interesting amount of fire this time around, and abundance. And Jeremy was surprised to see that much, the usual, some grills, some hammock frames and some cast aside, but several people making several trips through. Also happy to report that the oil reservoir that they've invested recycling money in is half full. I don't know what the gallonage capacity is, but Jeremy is happy to see the gauge go up, and there was a lot of people there. I went to the last two, but this one, there was a lot of people participating in oil drop, so they're trying to figure out a way to maybe make it open to the public, but yet keep it guarded up. There isn't slopping and slavish activities going on, as I've seen in other recycle areas, but that was neat. I also got to take part in the high school job interviews today. I was invited to, I had 3 individuals, I was kind of a last minute fill-in. Otherwise I had more, but there is hope for our future. There were some bright young men and women, and it was interesting to do a mock interview with them, and I had 15 minutes each with them, and so there's hope. The handwriting is a little sketchy on some of them, but there's a lot of brain power in there, so we should be surprised. Also, the Chamber of Commerce again has been hooked up with the city and in some venues and not, but there's a small business Saturday. If you go to the St. Francis Chamber of Commerce Facebook page and or website, they're doing like a passport thing where you go to various vendors, various entities in town. There's rewards for your travels, and also there's a joint effort at Legion. There'll be some of the vendors that were at the farmers market this year will be there as well. The ghostly seasoning guy, I'm looking forward to meeting and buying some product from there. But so look at the Chamber of Commerce. There are a lot of fresh ideas and stuff coming up, and they're trying to make it a goal, and they're doing a good job. It's been sleepy for quite a while, and it really does help. The internet working, as Chris said, there's stuff that grows out of the farmers market that you would think that it is expanded other avenues for people, and private enterprises alive and well. So make an effort to do that, and then also the Chamber Gala is coming up in January, where they have a Las Vegas night. I believe it's going to be held at the Refuge again. But again, follow the site today. It was a lot of fun. We went last year. There's some silent auction items, and again, everything we do to help perpetuate all really goes back into the city, and they're a nonprofit situation, so they're not doing it for they're doing it for the love of the city, not for the money that they make. It all goes back. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Crystal?
Pass. I really haven't done much. There's been no meetings, no nothing. So been quiet.
Rob?
I really don't have anything to report. I did go to turkey bowling this weekend. It was a well-rounded event as well. What are the word I was looking for? There were a lot of people there. I want to give a shout out to all the local businesses that were participating in Thanksgiving Bowling, the Legion, for hosting it. But I don't want to leave any businesses out, but there were a lot of local businesses that supported the community. We had fun. It was really well received. That's the word I was looking for. Well received. And I want to give a shout out to True Value. They're also going to do another event at Captain's on December the 16th, which is called Gathering of Friends. That is also well received. I've been there many years in a row. It's a great time. So if you want to come out and meet a lot of community people, come to these events. It's really, really fun.
On Thursday, I attended the first parks meeting. It went really well. We had 3 members there. Hoping to add another one. Possibly then another will be meeting again in February. So it was really good to hear from the members and, I want to thank Paul for setting everything up and for having your guys there to introduce themselves, so everybody kind of knows who they were. I did go up and, take part in the tasting at the bottle shop. It was fairly busy there Friday night. I haven't seen it that busy there on a Friday night for a long time, so, it was good. And with that, I want to welcome Joe. I'm excited to see some of the changes that he's gonna make there for us, and I encourage everyone to go in there and check it out and get to know Joe and the other staff.
Thank you. Well, I spoke with, several different staff, I guess, about a bunch of different things this week. Talked to Dave about our fire situation with Nala and whatnot. Some of the Bethel stuff, so I look forward to some of that coming in front of us in the future. Want to give recognition to the police and the fire, for your life-saving efforts. That's awesome. I don't even know what to say to that. It's just amazing, and we appreciate you guys for that. So thank you. Everybody got that email. And then, I would, just to transition from the Parks Committee stuff to some of the assignment stuff coming up, we did get an email from Kate here, so look for that. If you guys are interested in anything, definitely let me know, or let Kate know, I should say. You can let me know, everybody at one time. So let Kate know, and then she'll get back to me and we'll figure that out.
Okay.
Definitely call Kate, do not call me, with that one. Took me a minute, but I got there. And with that, I think that's all I have to report at this time. So with that, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will make that motion.
Motion by Councilmember Osrick, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Krecklo, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And 8.